Hello, Phantom fans. My name is Sam Olmstead. His name is Justin Irwin. This is the Dump and Chase podcast. Well, to start out, we have a problem on our hands. 2 seasons ago, the Phantoms limped to an early end. They lost 5 of their last 6 games before COVID took away live sports and gave us the Tiger King in return. Last season, the Phantoms went 12-37, giving us the worst season in team history. The summer saw a lot of turnover behind and in front of the bench. Much insinuation was made that some potential returning players did not want to be in Youngstown. We get to this season, and that gets off to a rocky start. But we already know this. You all have watched it. We watched and covered it. Episode after episode of bad news, followed by any tiny glimmer of hope we could manufacture, followed by more bad news. Then this past weekend happened. The Phantoms won. They won in Plymouth. They won in Youngstown. They beat Team USA both times, badly. Beat them in record fashion. And here we sit, we're able to do a happy episode. No moral victories to strain through, just a flat-out thrashing where the Phantoms excelled in all 3 phases of the game. The question is, Justin, do we remember how to do a happy episode?
I'm looking through previous documentation here, trying to remember the procedures here. We might have to wing this.
Are you telling me we did not write up a plan for happy episodes back when we started this?
No, sir. No. We rely on pretty much bitterness and coffee. Occasionally vodka. Okay, more than occasionally vodka.
Funny you should mention that. All joking aside, this was in fact a record-breaking weekend for the Phantoms. And we get to be in a good mood while recapping what took place last weekend. This was not a common occurrence last season. And you mentioning vodka, one of your favorite phrases is Russian machine never breaks. And being in the throes of COVID last season did not seem to slow down the Russian machine that makes vodka. The proof of which was about the 5 shots per episode routine that you had.
Hey, actually, the vodka I drink is Icelandic.
Oh, okay. I'm so sorry. You know, what's the line? You know, it's just some guy brewing it in his bathtub in Pittsburgh, and they're just scooping it in the bottles, so.
I think that's Kevin Stevens.
Very good. We haven't had a Kevin Stevens reference in a while.
Well, we haven't had a weekend like we had in a while.
I know. We may have to switch to some Evander Kane references here soon.
Ooh. We might have to fake that.
Yeah. Look it up. It's pretty funny. Okay, so let's check out some news and notes before we get into what was a very, very thrilling weekend of Phantoms hockey. First, we wanted to bring up the latest in the Steven Sardarian watch. We reported before that visa issues were holding him up from getting across the pond from Russia, a problem that has been felt league-wide. So I spoke to a team official and was told that Steven is now in Youngstown and has been able to get in a couple days of skating. So with the team traveling this weekend, I think it would be a safe bet to say that we probably won't see him for another couple weeks when the Phantoms travel to Cedar Rapids.
Yeah, it might be a little bit on the risky side trying to work him into the lineup that quick on a road trip. I'm sure he's jet lagged, a little bit of whiplash. I guess we'll call this the new normal for European transfers. Hopefully that goes away at some point in time, but yeah, it's been rough all around. We're just glad to get him in town at this point.
And another bit of news, it was announced earlier this week that the Phantoms' Trey Taylor was named the USHL Defenseman of the Week. Trey finished the weekend with 1 goal, which came on the power play, and 4 assists, and was a +2 over the weekend. This was an incredible achievement only 2 weeks into the season, just because it seems like whoever decides these awards every week forget that the Phantoms exist until about February or March.
Yeah, well, I mean, we kind of put an exclamation mark on it this week. We are here. I don't think they could ignore that, especially with it being the NTDP. So, yeah, congratulations, Trey.
Okay, so the time has come. What do you say we dig into this last weekend? So this past weekend, the Phantoms get away from Cranberry. They played a home and home weekend series with Team USA, the under 17 squad. So we'll just start right out the game on Friday. Now the game started at 7:05. I had just gotten home from work by the time I had brought Hockey TV up. It was about 10 after 7, so I thought, okay, I've only missed 5 minutes, I'm good. So I turned on the game. Turns out that I missed the first 2 minutes, and the Phantoms were up 2-1.
Yeah, it was like a minute into it. It was 2-1, and the saves were 0-0.
Yeah. So turns out I had the rewind back and catch up on what just kept fast forwarding through puck stoppages and whatnot until I got caught up. So Kyle Bettens kicked off the scoring for the Phantoms 20 seconds into the game. That was his first goal as a Phantom. 15 seconds later, Carter Rose got his first USHL goal. 22 seconds after that, Team USA's Oliver Moore got his first of the season. 57 seconds into the game, the score is 2-1. Going through the rest of the first period, Kenta Isagai gets his first goal of the season. The Phantoms end up at the end of the first period leading 3-2, outshooting they were outshot by Team USA 14-11. That was the only time that happened this weekend.
Yeah, helter-skelter game. I was at the game, just kind of a really interesting opening to say the least. You wondered if the score was going to end up being more like, 14-10, but about halfway through, the Phantoms buckled up, started playing a lot tighter defense.
Okay, so jumping on to the second period, the Phantoms picked up 3 more goals in the second, 2 of which by Adam Ingram, 1 of those on the power play, and Jaden Grant was able to get his first goal of the season. So at the end of the second, the Phantoms lead 6-4, outshooting Team USA in that period 22-7. Normally, we don't give the shots on goal. There's a very specific reason, if you don't know yet, why I'm calling these numbers out. Going into the third period, 1 more goal for Youngstown. That was Jaden Grant, his second of the season, second of the game. The third period, Phantoms outshot USA 17-6. They won 7-4. Total shots on goal were Youngstown 49, Team USA 28. And that wasn't even the better of that this weekend. But Phantoms picked it up on the power play, were 1 for 3 on the power play, and 2 for 3 on the penalty kill. Owen Bartoszewicz stopped 24-28 shots and was able to pick up his first USHL win. Defensively, Phantoms were a little sloppy in the beginning. As this game went on, they tightened it up and really locked it down.
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe it was a little bit of nerves. Maybe just Team USA's reputation. It looked like pretty much it was going to be run and gun all game. I believe probably the coaching staff for the Phantoms said, we got to shut them down at some point. Yeah, the second half of that game was night and day when it came to defense. And pretty much the whole weekend out from there.
Okay, so moving on to Saturday. That was the home opener at the Covelli Center. Fun game for us. I got to wear my new jersey, our brand new shiny press passes tucked away inside of them because we're not that pretentious. We're not going to walk around with them sticking out the whole time, especially since it only really means something at the end of the game. But yeah, so this was the home opener. We were finally back at the Covelli Center in our actual seats that we have had this whole time. Yeah, so a little different start to the game on Saturday. Team USA went very up-tempo. They did not want a repeat of what happened the night before. And at one point, I even said to you, this is just a case of Youngstown's just going to have to weather this storm until this initial burst of energy wears off. And that was, in fact, what they did, which is a big change from last season.
Yeah. I mean, it was pretty obvious. You called it right off the bat. And the guys did really good. Kyle Chavette, excellent in net. Team defense, we didn't give them a lot of grade A chances. So, we were able to clean up what they did get. And, for about, first 5-6 minutes of the game, it looked like things might go different, but then We took back over.
Okay, so the first period, the Phantoms started the scoring. That was Ryan Alexander, his second of the season. Also a shorthanded goal, the first of two in this game. That was followed by Cole Birch's first goal of the year. Phantoms end the first period up 2-0, outshooting Team USA 15-9. Go into the second period, the Phantoms just started pouring it on, putting up 5 goals in the period. Jaden Grant got his third of the season on the power play. Ryan Alexander, his third. Chase Patella, his first in the USHL. Trey Taylor, like we mentioned earlier, his first USHL goal on the power play. And a sentence I'd never thought I'd say out loud, Byard Hall, his first of the season on a shorthanded breakaway. I'll have a little more to say about him later. But second period ends. The Phantoms are up 7-0, outshooting Team USA 20-3.
Yeah, I believe we'll both have some stuff to say about Hall. So yeah. Yeah, just phenomenal effort.
Okay, so getting on to the third period, Justin Varner would give Youngstown an 8-0 lead with his first USHL goal. Unfortunately, USA would spoil the shutout bid. They got their first and only goal of the game with about 13:25 left. So, Phantoms outshoot USA in the third period, 22-13, and they left the ice with an 8-1 victory. Now, we mentioned record-breaking. The Phantoms outshot USA 57-25 in this game. That broke the team record for most shots on goal in regulation that was set on January 17th, 2015 in a home game against the Madison Capitals. So the now former record in that game was 54 shots. The Phantoms had a total of 106 shots on goal for this weekend, also setting a record for shots in a weekend series, and that includes weekends with 3 games.
That was a stat that I had guessed at earlier, but yeah, to have that confirmed, just again, amazing effort.
And for a little bit of fun trivia, if you were curious, the Phantoms' record for least shots in a game happened on November 11, 2009. This was their inaugural season against the Green Bay Gamblers. The Phantoms were outshot 35-9. Now, this is the only time in team history the Phantoms registered less than 10 shots on goal in a game. Now, this is the kicker to this. The Phantoms in that game beat Green Bay 3-2. They were outshot 35-9 and won the game 3-2. Those 3 goals scored by Taylor Holstrom, Brian Dowd, and current New York Islander defenseman Scott Mayfield.
I believe the Ken Hitchcock mid-2000s era Ken Hitchcock would have approved of that effort.
That's
defense.
Just goes back to, again, the hockey gods can be a cruel mistress.
Yeah. You wait for your chances.
Now, we actually saw this the week before. We decided to hold off because we wanted to tie it into something for this episode. That'll be the first time we've ever done this. Yeah, we had Brad Patterson on last off season and talked to him about his basically his method of usually a team captain is not named or voted on by the team, however it is they do it from year to year until usually about January. We got a little bit of a surprise when the first roster came out for the Fall Classic. Jaden Grant was in fact listed as the captain. So as far as our bets for the season that we did a couple episodes ago, I'm already up by 1. That was my safe bet, so I'm already up by 1, so yay for me.
Yeah.
But yeah, we start the season, Jaden Grant as captain and Cole Birch and Byard Hall as the assistant captains. Or if you're in Canada, the associate captains. That's
yeah. And Byard Hall would be a defenseman, DEFENCE.
Yes.
But even more impressive, I think, was the fact that we actually had the letters on hand to sew on the jerseys, which with the supply chain issues, I think is, a small victory.
I remember 4 or 5 seasons ago, we kept joking because it was obvious coming to games that there were money issues with the team. We had a player cut who had a C in his last name, and then the next week, the team captain was named. We joked that they had to peel the C off of his jersey to sew it on the front of somebody else's, but
Yeah, well, this ain't Wheel of Fortune. You got to buy consonants as well as vowels.
Yeah. But no. So this all leads to, of course, with our shiny new press passes, our press credentials, we get to join in on the post game press conferences. So after the game, we got the chance to ask head coach Brad Patterson about Jaden Grant on his being named team captain this year, and this is how that went.
Brad, the team went against tradition a little bit this season, started the season with the team captain. Can you talk about Jaden Grant and just his development here in Youngstown and what he brings to the team on and off the ice?
Yeah, it's, we've done different things over the years, and part of that is, maybe you don't know exactly what you have, and I felt like Jaden Grant for me is, he's the epitome of a leader, both on the ice, off the ice. His details don't change in practice. His details don't change when it's, you're up a few goals or down a few goals. It's the consistency aspect and the demand on everybody else around him. And, to me, it was really a no-brainer. And when I say that, it's not I don't pick the captain. These guys are, there's a little bit difference, but you're a teammate. Our coaching staffs are teammates of the players, and at the end of the day, we're going to dictate some things, but that's something that the team really has to rally around. And Jaden definitely had my vote, but he had just about the entire team, so that's a no-brainer to me.
Okay, so with the recap out of the way, how about we move into another segment of 4 points? Okay, so once again, I'll point this out for anybody new listening. Anybody who just doesn't remember we did this last episode, we'll do this again. 4 points, we break down the weekend by 4 categories. What we liked, what we didn't like, our favorite moment of the weekend, and our weekend MVP. So I will get it started with what we liked. For me this weekend, what I liked, it was a dominant performance by this team that wasn't something you would see last year as a moral victory after a win. We saw a lot of that last year where it was just grasp any little accomplishment we could because they were so far and few to come between, that this was, again, maybe for the exception of the first period on Friday, this was just an absolute dominant performance by the Phantoms. And coming away from it, you come away from this game that it is a dominant performance and not, well, we got lucky this time. Everybody gets to go home happy for a weekend. We'll see what happens next weekend. We came out of this, everybody we talked to, usually most games, the game's over, everybody's running for the door. People were hanging around afterwards in the concourse, high-fiving and celebrating. And I mean, this is a feeling we haven't had in a very long time.
Yeah. For me, I think what I liked the most this week 2 of the season, we score 15 goals, 10 different players. Usually you do not see this kind of chemistry starting to develop in week 2. And, especially not being, the first week after the Fall Classic, there's, that's kind of, we're parading players around for, scouts. This is kind of the first, hard hat and lunch pail weekend. And yeah, I mean, we spread it around. That says, these guys are feeling good, starting to gel, lines are clicking early. That goes a long way.
Okay, so what I didn't like this weekend, and I really had to think about this because this is almost kind of nitpicky. What I ended up coming up with, this could have had ramifications going forward. In the second period Saturday, after the Phantoms were up 6-0, Primo Self was called for a head contact penalty for after a checkup against the boards. I saw the hit when it happened. It looked like a player finishing a check. I didn't see head contact. Going back and looking at the replay on Hockey TV, the camera is panning away as the hit is happening. And, unless the player from Team USA ducked his head at the very last second and got hit, I wasn't seeing it there. The thing that kind of concerned me was that when you see a head contact penalty, even the 2-minute variety, there's a very good likelihood there's going to be some kind of follow-up discipline from the league. Again, talking to team officials, that will not be the case this time. There is no follow-up suspensions or anything like that. obviously there was a reputation with Team USA and Youngstown, very chippy games, a lot of extra stick work behind the play, a lot of after the whistle activity. And the thing that really impressed me this weekend, we didn't see that.
Yeah. And I mean, for the most part, the officiating was really well done. Yeah, that might have been an extra call there that didn't need to be called. I don't know if he missed it or was just trying to make some sort of a point. But otherwise, the officiating was really well done. We don't say that a lot.
If you want to go for a roughing call or whatever, maybe you could have skewed towards that. I think the head contact was a little ridiculous. Maybe something, I don't know if it was just keeping in mind what this rivalry has been like in the past, but the fact of the matter was we saw two fairly clean hockey games between Youngstown and Team USA.
So, yeah, I mean, it was one bad call. So, it's still early in the season for the refs too. But we can still, we still boo them. So
when is it not early in the season for the refs? Come on.
June or July.
June or July. All right. So what didn't you like from this weekend?
Again, it was kind of hard to pick anything. I guess I'm going to go with the kind of the way we started on Friday defensively. We scored quickly. However, it would have been better to back that up with a little bit better defense and maybe helping Bardo out a little bit on goal. I guess, first kind of trip up to Plymouth, you're playing against Team USA. As a goalie, probably, a little bit more nerves than the other players. Helped the kid out a little bit. But again, we corrected midway through the game and won it 7-4. So, we did what we needed to do and did not start that way on Saturday. So minor issue, and it was corrected.
Okay, so moving on to my favorite moment from this weekend. For me, it was seeing an actual happy, energetic crowd in the Cavelli Center. It wasn't a lot of what we saw last year. Anytime the Phantoms did get a win, just kind of a subdued, good try reaction from the crowd. You saw fans, jumping up to their feet, screaming, high-fiving each other, hugging each other. Cats and dogs living together, mass hysteria going on in the yes, that was a Ghostbusters reference.
Yeah. Yes.
Going on in the stands. And again, after the game, fans are walking down the concourse, randomly high-fiving each other as they're leaving the arena. Just a lot of pent-up happiness that just hasn't been able to get let out. Kind of came out in one night for a lot of people. And it was just incredible to sit there and be in the middle of it.
Yeah, I mean, it was cheap beer night, but it was nice to see that the enthusiasm was alcohol enhanced, not alcohol driven.
Yes. Yeah.
You know what I mean.
That was a much better way of putting it than I did. Thank you for that. Okay, so what was your favorite moment?
It was hard to choose between two of the goals on Saturday, so I'm going to go with both. The first one, Cole Birch. Coming down on a 2-on-1, has a winger open for a pass, is looking past the entire time. Defenseman and goalie are both convinced on pass. He does not once look at the goal and fires it far side stick. And just a beautiful goal, a shooter's goal, something that I'm sure a lot of scouts were writing real quick down on their notes. Did not look at the net. And then the other goal, of course, the Bayard Hall goal. Takes the bobbled puck, takes it up ice, scores that goal. Nifty speed, power, hands, Bayard Hall.
And that is something we've discussed a few times. His right now, if you were giving early season awards, right now, Byard Hall would be right up there with Kyle Chavette for most improved from last year. Just what we've seen from tryout camp, what we've seen from preseason, and Kyle, what we've seen in 2 games. Byard, what we've seen so far in 4. If we were doing early season awards right now, those 2 for me would be as far as the Phantoms returners from last season. Those 2 would be neck and neck as far as most improved from last season.
Yeah, and I mean we had seen in training camp he was stronger, faster, a lot more mobile around the net, but dang,
and he's a defenseman.
Yes. So yeah,
we saw like flashes of his offensive ability last year. But the defense had a lot bigger problems last year than their offensive abilities. Yeah, this year, what this kid is capable of has been on full display. And honestly, it's been nothing but exciting to watch this kid on the ice.
So yeah, definitely has earned the assistant captaincy.
Yeah. Okay. So your weekend MVP.
My weekend MVP, Jaden Grant. 3 goals, leading by example on the ice, and named team captain, played hard, and I think just the exclamation mark on that one was when we were walking out of the post game with Patterson, walking out the hallway. He's doing stick handling drills with a ball in the hallway after the game. Yeah, just casually. That's what he's waiting for his ride. Just sitting there doing stick handling. To any hockey players, any young hockey players who might be listening to this, that's how you do it.
Yeah, that was such an incredible thing. Just because we just got done talking to Brad Patterson about, what does Jaden Grant do on and off the ice to get him to this point? And then we walk away from that interview. There is Jaden Grant in a hallway by himself running drills after a game, after an 8-1 win.
Yeah, that's how he celebrates.
Okay, so now that we have taken care of the past, let's look forward to the future, and let's talk about what we've got coming up this weekend. Okay, so this weekend, well, actually, by the time you're listening to this will be Friday. We're recording on Thursday night, but by the time you hear this, it'll be Friday, hopefully. If you hear this on Sunday, you're a little late.
Or we were a little late.
Yeah. So, tonight and tomorrow night, on from your perspective, the Phantoms will return to the Bob Suter Ice Arena in Madison, Wisconsin for, get this, for the first time since December 14th, 2019. Just will be a touch shy of 22 months since the Phantoms have traveled to Madison. Of course, the Capitals were forced to shut down last season due to local and state COVID restrictions. I had heard talk that they tried to relocate to somewhere else in the area that would allow them to play and were unsuccessful, so they had to shut down for the season. But thankfully, they are back. It definitely, I'm trying to think how I can say this, thins out the schedule from playing the same 4 or 5 teams over and over again all year long, with them in Cedar Rapids returning. So Madison will come into this weekend with 1 win, 1 loss, and 1 overtime loss for 3 points, and are currently sitting 4th place in the Eastern Conference. Their lone win came last weekend, which was a 3-2 overtime win over Chicago. Youngstown travels to Madison with a record of 2 wins and 2 losses, which is good for 4 points, and that puts them in 3rd place in the East. How long has it been since we've been able to say that? Again, I know early in the season, but give us this. So both Friday and Saturday night, or tonight and tomorrow night, whenever you're listening to this, the puck drops at 8:05 Eastern. Both games will be available on Hockey TV. So any of your thoughts on the Madison Capitals this weekend?
What I saw of them in Cranberry, they had kind of a bad opening. Second game was a lot better. What I saw on little bit on Hockey TV and then clips on Twitter. The third game, they were even better. No matter how I look at it, they're better than they probably should be. They were always a team that had issues and then had to take a year off. But they have a strong group of returning players. We'll see. If we play them hard like we did, I don't think we'll have too much of a problem. But it also kind of depends on how their net minding goes.
Well, with that all being said, how about we go ahead, play the creepy carnival music, and wrap up this episode. So here we are, the end of the show. If you're watching on YouTube and you haven't done so yet, make sure to subscribe to our channel. This show is also available on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Podcast, Amazon Music, and many, many more, whether I had a choice in it or not. You can also follow us on Facebook and Twitter. All of those links you will find in the description on our Linktree page. Also, don't forget to check out the mothership of all this, hockeyfan.com. That's PHAN.com. Justin's weekly blogs are piling up. There's a ton of information on there. My blog, By the Numbers, will be back the first week in November. The numbers bounce all around the place for the first so many weeks of the season. For example, after the weekend in Cranberry, the Phantoms' percentage of time they led in a game was only 1.9%. After last weekend, that number jumped to 42.6%. So yeah, it's early on, not a lot of games being played. These numbers are going to bounce all over the place. So by early next month, enough games will be played that there won't be such drastic changes in the numbers. And don't forget to check out our syndication partner, OhioHockeyDigest.com. That is your one-stop shop for every bit of hockey news at all levels in the state of Ohio. And as always, a special thank you to all of you for listening along this week. The season is starting to look like it could be something special, and we are very excited we get to cover it for all of you. So until next time, for Justin Irwin, I'm Sam Olmstead. And would you look at that? In the time we recorded this episode, the Phantoms have 4 more shots on goal.